As the imagined story of Motor City begins, Detroit is presented not just as a location, but as a living machine, loud, fractured, and constantly moving beneath layers of steel, rain, and fading neon. The city carries the weight of abandoned factories, hidden deals, and old loyalties that never fully disappeared. In the middle of this environment stands Ryan Keller, portrayed by Alan Ritchson, a former mechanic turned prison survivor who returns home after years behind bars for a crime he didn't commit. He walks back into a city that barely remembers him, but one that still carries the consequences of the betrayal that destroyed his Lifrian's release is quiet, almost invisible, but his return immediately disrupts people who believed the past was buried. The men responsible for setting him up have spent years building influence through underground operations tied to stolen vehicles, illegal transport networks, and corrupt business alliances stretching across the city. They expected Ryan to disappear after prison. Instead, he comes back with patience, discipline, and a singular purpose: uncover the truth and dismantle the people who took everything from him at first. Ryan keeps a low profile, reconnecting with the streets and learning how the city has changed. The garages he once knew are either abandoned or controlled by new players. Old friends avoid eye contact, unsure whether helping him is worth the risk. Every alley, warehouse, and industrial district feels connected to something hidden beneath the surface. Detroit becomes a maze of engines, shadows, and unfinished business. During this process, Ryan crosses paths with Lena Hart, portrayed by Shailene Woodley, an investigative journalist who has spent years digging into corruption tied to the same network Ryan is hunting. Unlike others, Lena does not see Ryan as a threat. She sees him as a missing piece. Their partnership forms slowly, built on caution rather than trust. As both understand the danger of exposing the wrong people too quickly as the narrative progresses, the story expands beyond personal revenge into a larger conspiracy involving city officials, private security operations, and criminal organizations using Detroit's industrial decline as cover for large-scale trafficking and illegal trade. Ryan realizes that the people who framed him were protecting something far bigger than a single operation. His imprisonment was necessary because he accidentally saw a part of the system he was never meant to understand. The action sequences grow naturally from the environment itself: high-speed pursuits through abandoned factory zones, brutal hand-to-hand fights inside machine shops, and tense confrontations in rain-soaked streets illuminated by flashing headlights and broken signs. Ryan fights with direct efficiency, using strength, awareness, and instinct rather than flashy technique. Every movement feels grounded, reflecting someone shaped by years of survival rather than performance. At the same time, the emotional layer deepens through Ryan and Lena's evolving connection. Both carry scars from different battles: Ryan from betrayal and imprisonment, Lena from years of chasing truths that powerful people wanted buried. Their dynamic adds balance to the story, blending intensity with quieter moments where motivation, fear, and resilience are explored beneath the surface action. As Ryan moves closer to identifying the people truly responsible, pressure increases from every side. Surveillance tightens, informants disappear, entire sections of the city become dangerous territory controlled by those who want Ryan silenced permanently. Yet instead of retreating, he becomes more aggressive, shifting from investigation to disruption. He starts targeting shipments, sabotaging operations, and exposing hidden links within the network. This forces the organization into the open. For the first time, the powerful figures behind the system are forced to respond directly rather than through intermediaries. What follows is a series of escalating confrontations where the line between criminal power and institutional authority completely disappears. Ryan understands now that this is no longer just about clearing his name, it's about exposing a structure that has infected the city itself. In the final phase of this imagined Motor City, Ryan and Lena uncover evidence tied to a central operation hidden beneath one of Detroit's abandoned industrial zones. The climax unfolds through a relentless sequence of infiltration, pursuit, and confrontation as Ryan pushes deeper into the heart of the network. Every step carries risk, every decision shapes survival, and every revelation brings the truth closer to the surface. By the end, Alan Ritchson delivers a character driven not by rage alone, but by endurance and purpose, while Shailene Woodley grounds the narrative with intelligence and determination. Together, they expose a city built on hidden machinery, one powered by corruption, silence, and fear. As the imagined narrative of Motor City continues, the fragile balance Ryan Keller, portrayed by Alan Ritchson, has managed to maintain begins collapsing under the weight of the pressure he is creating inside Detroit's underground network. His actions against the organization have started producing visible consequences. Shipments vanish, safe routes become compromised, and long-protected operations begin turning against each other as paranoia spreads through the system. For the first time in years, the people controlling the city, losing confidence in their own structure, and understands that disruption alone will not be enough. The organization is too deeply rooted, woven into the city through layers of business, politics, and criminal influence. To truly expose it, he needs proof strong enough to survive public scrutiny and dangerous enough to make those in power panic. This pushes him and Lena Hart, portrayed by Shailene Woodley, deeper into the investigation than either of them anticipated. Tedela's role becomes increasingly critical as she uncovers archived records tied to a series of incidents buried years earlier: factory fires, disappearances, missing evidence, and financial transfers connected to shell companies operating throughout Detroit. Individually, the cases appear unrelated. Together, they reveal a pattern stretching back decades, suggesting that the network did not rise from the city's collapse, it grew alongside it. Feeding on economic decline and institutional neglect as the investigation expands, Ryan starts reconnecting with figures from his past, including former mechanics, street racers, and old associates who once operated on the edges of Detroit's underground culture. Some help willingly, still loyal to the man they knew before prison. Others cooperate out of fear, understanding that refusing him be just as dangerous as crossing the organization itself. These interactions bring emotional weight to the story, showing how time and betrayal have changed the people left behind. Action intensifies as the network shifts from defense to direct retaliation. Armed crews begin hunting Ryan openly, turning industrial zones and deserted neighborhoods into battlegrounds. Car chases tear through rain-covered streets and abandoned manufacturing districts, blending speed with brutal impact as Ryan uses his knowledge of the city to stay one step ahead. Every pursuit feels personal, driven not just by orders, but by the desperation of people trying to protect a collapsing empire. At the same time, Ryan begins to realize that the man who orchestrated his imprisonment may not have acted alone. Higher-level figures emerge from the shadows, individuals who never appear publicly, but whose influence shapes everything beneath them. These are not street-level criminals. They are strategists who built a system capable of surviving police investigations, leadership changes, and even internal betrayal. This revelation changes the scale of the conflict completely. The emotional tension between Ryan and Lena also deepens. Their growing trust is tested by the risks surrounding them, especially as Lena becomes more exposed due to the information she possesses. Threats become personal, forcing both of them to decide how far they are willing to go. Their relationship develops through shared pressure rather than romance alone, built on survival, honesty, and the understanding that they may not both walk away once the truth comes out. As the story moves toward its next turning point, Ryan discovers the existence of a hidden transportation hub operating beneath one of Detroit's abandoned industrial corridors. It functions as the central artery of the network, moving money, stolen vehicles, weapons, and information through routes invisible to outsiders. More importantly, it contains records capable of exposing the entire operation. Ryan, it, however, means entering territory controlled completely by the organization. The closer Ryan gets, the tighter security become assigned, the more aggressive the response. Surveillance expands across the city. Checkpoints appear in key districts, and trusted contacts begin disappearing. Detroit itself starts feeling like a controlled zone, where every movement is watched and every mistake could become fatal. Ryan prepares carefully, knowing this operation cannot fail. Unlike previous confrontations, This is not about disruption, it is about exposure. If he succeeds, the organization fractures publicly. If he fails, everything disappears with him. The tension builds steadily as he and Lena coordinate their final approach, balancing stealth, timing, and limited resources against an enemy that still controls most of the city. The final stretch of this phase unfolds through a tense sequence of infiltration, hidden movement, and explosive confrontation inside the industrial underworld beneath Detroit. Rusted tunnels, underground rail systems, and forgotten machine corridors become